These 10 films were so dangerous they got banned, and nearly ended old Hollywood as we know it. 1. The Birth of a Nation, 1915. Released in 1915, The Birth of a Nation changed the landscape of cinema. The film was one of the first to tell enormous stories through captivating visuals, and it wielded dramatic close-ups and epic battles like no other. Its technical polish was unparalleled for its time. It aggressively offended entire populations while simultaneously inciting nationwide protests due to civil rights groups attempting to counter its dangerous messaging. Civil rights groups, protesting against the film's racist stereotypes, brought intense attention to its hostile sender and agenda, as well as countering its dangerous messages. Ready or not, the film sparked controversy for centuries to come. This movie proves that even the most groundbreaking art can carry messages that destroy, not inspire. 2. Freaks, 1932. Freaks wasn't just a film. It was a punch to the face of polite society. Released in 1932, it featured real carnival performers with physical disabilities, a move that Hollywood had never dared to try. Director Todd Browning created a story that was both human and horrifying. The audience wasn't ready. Some found it repulsive. Others called it exploitative. The film was banned in several countries, and one viewer reportedly suffered a tragic loss after watching it. That's how intense the reaction was. Over time, Freaks gained a cult following. Today, it's seen as a bold film that forces people to confront what society calls normal. But back then, it nearly ended careers. 3. The Outlaw, 1943. In 1943, Howard Hughes took on Hollywood's censorship head-on with The Outlaw. And no, it wasn't the story that got people talking. It was Jane Russell's figure. Hughes deliberately promoted the film with scandalous posters highlighting her bust, something that outraged moral watchdogs. Censors blocked its release. Religious groups protested, but Hughes was smart. He used the delay to stir curiosity. When the film finally hit theaters, people rushed in to see what all the fuss was about. The reviews were mixed, but the publicity worked. This wasn't just a movie, it was a marketing masterclass that turned controversy into box office gold. 4th, Song of the South, 1946. Disney's this massive, squeaky clean brand now, but man, their history's got some real messes swept under the rug. Take Song of the South. Dropped in 1946, back when people still wore fedoras unironically, and honestly, it's a PR nightmare even by old Hollywood standards. They mashed up live action and cartoons to spin these folksy tales set right after the Civil War, except yikes, they airbrushed the whole reality of slavery and racism out of the picture. Uncle Remus. Yeesh. That character's just a walking, talking stereotype, and critics dragged Disney for it. Civil rights groups saw the film and were like, nope, not on our watch, and started demanding it get the boot. Disney, probably sweating bullets, quietly pulled the movie and never let it hit VHS or DVD shelves in the US. You literally can't find it on Disney Plus. It's locked up tighter than Walt's rumored cryogenic chamber. The point is, even the kings of animation can churn out something so tone-deaf it gets locked in the vault forever. Some cartoons aren't just harmless fun, they can leave scars. 5. The Moon is Blue, 1953. By 1953, Hollywood was still under strict self-censorship, but Otto Preminger didn't care. His film The Moon is Blue was a simple romantic comedy that dared to say the word virgin. That's all it took to set off a firestorm. Conservative groups called it scandalous. Censors tried to block it. The Motion Picture Association refused to approve it. But audiences? They loved it. The film's playful tone and adult dialogue resonated with viewers who were ready for something fresh. Preminger didn't just release a movie. He cracked open the door for mature storytelling in mainstream film. And Hollywood would never be the same again. 6. The Man with the Golden Arm, 1955. Back in 1955, nobody expected The Man with the Golden Arm to hit like it did. Frank Sinatra, yes, that Frank Sinatra, completely flipped the script, playing a heroin addict trying desperately to stay clean after being released from rehab. At the time, just saying the word heroin in a Hollywood movie was borderline unheard of. Substance abuse wasn't just taboo, it was completely off limits under the strict Hays Code. But director Otto Preminger wasn't about to play it safe. He refused to sugarcoat anything. While censors tried to gut the film and erase every mention of drugs, Preminger pushed forward, unapologetically. The result? It was one of the first major American films to openly confront addiction, and it didn't glamorize it either. It showed the cold, gritty reality, the withdrawals, the relapses, and the shame. Critics were stunned. Some praised its bravery, others panicked over its raw honesty. But either way, it opened a door. The Man with the Golden Arm proved that movies didn't have to hide from the truth. They could stare it down and force audiences to do the same. 7. Straw Dogs, 1971. When Sam Peckinpah directed Straw Dogs, he bulldozed his way through the forbidden. It opens as a quiet drama about a reserved American mathematician and his wife moving to a sleepy English village. A drama that quickly turns downwards in a raw and disturbing exploration of violence, power, and toxic masculinity. One of the most world-famous instances ever witnessed, the lingering assault scene stretched out ambiguously, left audiences in utter shock and uncomfortable inside. Was it meant to be a brutal condemnation of male violence and repression? Or had it slid right into exploitation? This debate has been raging for decades, and honestly, it still splits audiences and critics alike. The censors went all the way. Several countries banned it outright. Others demanded heavy edits. Even in the US and the UK, there were serious controversies over the screenings. Peckinpah, meanwhile, vehemently defended his creation as being about the eruption of repressed rage and animal instincts lurking underneath this thin veneer of civility. Well, not everybody bought it. Straw Dogs is eye-kickingly difficult to watch, and that is by design. It forces you to come to grips with the most sinister regions of human nature and asks an uncomfortable question. Where does violence stop, and where does our silence make us complicit? 8. A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange did not just push the envelope. The film tore the envelope apart. This brave and brutal masterpiece dropped us right into the middle of a dystopian future where gangs of teenagers prowl the streets and ultraviolence is just a regular pastime. At the center of it all was Alex DeLarge, gregarious, psychotic, and Beethoven-obsessed. The film takes us way down into gross kinds of places, graphic scenes of rape, psychological experimentations, and a society that attempts to fix evil by way of forcibly imposing behavior modification. It just does not make for an easy watch. And that went a long way toward creating an uproar about it. People were enraged. It was banned in countries. Critics called it perilous. Quite shockingly, Kubrick himself requested the withdrawal of the film from cinemas in the UK, alleging that crimes were inspired by the film itself. While mayhem reigned out there, Kubrick was still making his points about free will, morality, and society's handling of its monsters. A Clockwork Orange became muddy with genius and madness, art and anarchy. Today, this is more than a film. It is an icon of culture challenging you to stare and question everything you see. 9. The Devils, 1971. Religious horror has pushed boundaries before, but nothing hits like The Devils. Directed by Ken Russell, this 1971 fever dream of a film took viewers deep into a twisted, surreal tale of lust, repression, and religious fanaticism in a 17th century convent. Imagine a mashup of historical drama, political satire, and straight-up hallucinatory horror. And you'll still be unprepared. The film dives into themes like blind faith, sexual obsession, and institutional corruption, all wrapped in a visually stunning but wildly controversial package. It had full-on exorcism hysteria, nunsploitation scenes that shocked audiences, and moments so blasphemous the church condemned it almost instantly. Censors around the world freaked out. Finland banned it for decades. Many European countries demanded cuts, and in some places, the uncut version has still never officially been released. But while it caused outrage at the time, The Devils has aged into a cult classic. It's now taught in film schools as a daring piece of cinematic rebellion. Part art, part provocation. Once banned, now revered, The Devils is proof that some films get more powerful when the world tells you not to watch them. 10. The Last House on the Left, 1972. Wes Craven's directorial debut, The Last House on the Left, didn't just scare audiences, it straight up disturbed them. This 1972 horror flick dove into some seriously dark territory, telling a brutal tale of revenge after a horrific assault. But what made it truly shocking was how real it felt. There were no supernatural monsters, no ghostly jump scares, just raw, unfiltered human cruelty. The realism hit so hard that some viewers reportedly walked out feeling physically sick. Some critics praised it as a bold statement against violence in society, saying it forced people to confront the evil they'd rather ignore. But others weren't having it. They slammed it as exploitative trash. Countries like the UK and Australia banned it outright, while others only allowed it after heavy censorship. Still, Craven stood his ground. He claimed it wasn't about shock for shock's sake. It was a mirror held up to the world's darkest corners. Love it or hate it, The Last House on the Left still gets brought up today whenever someone asks the big question, how far is too far in horror? These 10 films shook Hollywood to its core. They faced bans, protests, and legal threats. But they also pushed boundaries, reshaped genres, and gave artists the power to challenge authority. Today, they remind us that the cost of freedom in art is often high, but always worth the fight.